Every problem feels louder when your mind isn't calm. You wake up tired, your head's already racing. Maybe you're worried about money, someone you love, your future, or just trying to keep it together. You've tried to fix things. You've read books, watched videos, told yourself to stay positive, but inside, it still feels heavy. This isn't another talk about how to hustle harder. This is about something deeper. This is about solving problems at the root, not just on paper, but in your mind. The truth is, a peaceful mind can solve almost anything. And that's what this video is about. Not just getting through the day, but actually feeling better while you live it. You don't need more pressure. You need peace. You need clarity. You need a formula that works in real life, and that's what you'll learn here. Stay with this. It might just change how you handle everything. Chapter 1. Understand your mind before trying to change your life. You know, most people wake up every day trying to change everything around them. Their job, their partner, their routine, their life. Yet they never stop to understand the one thing controlling it all, and their own mind. You can't change your life until you understand the machine that's running it. Your mind decides how you see the world, how you feel about it, and how you respond to it. It's not life that creates stress, it's how you think about life that does. If you want to solve any problem, you must start at the source, the thoughts that shape your reality. Everything begins there. The way you talk to yourself, the beliefs you repeat, the stories you tell in silence, that's where the real war is fought. Before you try to fix your life, pause and get to know the voice inside your head. What does it say when things go wrong? What does it whisper when you fail? What does it shout when you feel lost? Understanding your mind is like turning on the lights in a dark room. You begin to see what's been tripping you up all along. Every emotion you feel, every reaction you have, every habit you've built, they're all signals. They tell you how your mind has been trained. If you get angry too quickly, if you worry about what people think, if you quit before you finish, these are not flaws, they are messages. They are clues about how your mind works. When you pay attention, you stop living on autopilot. You begin to respond instead of react. You start seeing patterns instead of chaos. The truth is, most people don't think they react. Something happens, and they respond with emotion before they ever take a breath. They've trained their mind to defend, not to understand. And here's what happens. When the mind doesn't understand itself, it becomes its own enemy. You start fighting battles that don't even exist. You imagine outcomes that never happen. You rehearse pain that hasn't even arrived. That's how we turn small problems into heavy burdens, through misunderstanding how our own mind operates. Your mind is not against you. It's simply untrained. It's been shaped by years of repetition, fear, and habit. If you've spent 10 years worrying, your mind has become a master at worry. If you've spent 5 years doubting yourself, your mind has perfected that pattern. But the beautiful truth is, anything learned can be unlearned. Anything practiced can be replaced with something new. You can recondition your mind to think in a way that serves your peace instead of destroying it. Understanding your mind begins with observation. Watch your thoughts without trying to change them. When you feel anxious, don't rush to escape it. Watch what your mind says. When you feel angry, notice what thought came before it. You'll start to see the script that runs your life. Most of the time, it's the same few fears repeated in different situations. What if I fail? What will people think? I'm not enough. These are old stories. They started years ago. You didn't choose them consciously, but now they run your life unconsciously. Awareness is the first step to freedom. There's something powerful that happens when you realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. Once you see that, you can stop identifying with every thought that crosses your mind. You can question them, you can challenge them, you can ask, is this thought helping me or hurting me? That simple question can change the direction of your life. Because every decision begins with a thought, and every feeling is fueled by one. When people ask me how to change their life, I tell them, don't start with your job. Don't start with your relationship. Start with your thinking. Because your thinking is what built everything you see. If you think you can't, your actions will prove you right. If you think you're unlucky, you'll see evidence of it everywhere. If you think people are against you, you'll interpret everything through that lens. The mind doesn't show you reality. It shows you what you believe about reality, and that belief becomes your world. So, before you try to fix the world around you, fix the lens you're looking through. A peaceful mind doesn't come from a perfect life. It comes from a mind that understands itself. You can't stop problems from appearing, but you can stop your mind from turning them into storms. Once you understand your mind, you'll stop blaming life for how you feel. You'll stop expecting others to make you calm. You'll see that peace is something you build inside thought by thought, day by day. Now, how do you understand your mind in practice? You begin with honesty. Ask yourself, what do I really believe about myself? Not what you tell people, what you actually believe when you're alone. Do you believe you're capable? Do you believe you're worthy of good things? Do you believe that problems are challenges or punishments? Because your beliefs shape your responses, and your responses create your results. Understanding your mind means confronting beliefs that are outdated, beliefs that no longer fit who you want to become. You must also understand your emotional patterns. Notice what triggers you the most. Is it rejection, control, uncertainty? These triggers reveal what your mind is still trying to protect. The moment you see your reaction clearly, you create space, and in that space, you can choose differently. You no longer get pulled into the storm, you stay grounded. That's how you start solving problems with calm instead of chaos. Many people think control means power, but the real power is understanding. You can't control every event, but you can control the meaning your mind gives it. One person loses their job and falls apart. Another loses their job and sees it as a chance to grow. The event is the same. The difference is how the mind interprets it. Understanding your mind gives you that power, the power to create meaning that strengthens you, not breaks you. And remember, your mind listens to what you repeat. If you keep saying, "I can't handle this," your mind will agree and make you feel weaker. If you say, "I'm learning to stay calm," your mind will start creating that calm. Words are instructions to the brain. Be careful what you tell yourself because your mind obeys. Speak peace often enough, and soon your mind will believe it. You can't build a peaceful mind through force. You build it through patience. Every day, choose to observe instead of react. Choose to understand instead of attack. Choose to respond instead of panic. Over time, your mind begins to trust you. It stops fighting. It starts listening. That's when you gain real control, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that leads with awareness. The most successful people aren't those who never feel doubt. They're those who recognize it and move anyway. They've learned to separate emotion from identity. They know that feeling uncertain doesn't mean they are weak. It means they are human. That's understanding. It's knowing your emotional waves without letting them drown you. When you understand your mind, problems stop feeling personal. You start to see them as feedback. Life says, here's a weakness to strengthen, here's a lesson to learn. And instead of complaining, you listen, you begin to grow. That's when your peace becomes unshakable, not because life got easier, but because your mind got wiser. You owe it to yourself to understand why you think the way you do. Study yourself the way you study your goals. Pay attention to how your mind reacts to pressure, to failure, to praise. Every reaction tells you where you still need peace. And when you know that, you can work on it directly. You can journal your thoughts at the end of each day. Write down what made you stressed, what made you calm, what made you feel proud. You'll start to notice the same patterns appear again and again. Awareness grows through repetition. The more you observe, the clearer your mind becomes. Understanding your mind is not about being positive all the time. It's about being aware all the time. Sometimes awareness means facing truth that hurts. You might realize that your anger is just fear in disguise. You might see that your sadness comes from expectations you never questioned. That's good. That's progress, because you can't change what you don't understand. If you want peace, you must be brave enough to look inward. Most people keep running from themselves, hoping something external will make it better. A new job, a new partner, a new start. But everywhere you go, your mind goes too. If it's not peaceful inside, the world will never feel peaceful outside. You must understand what's happening inside before anything outside will make sense. So start small. Each morning, check in with your thoughts. Ask yourself, what am I focusing on today? When you feel overwhelmed, ask, what story is my mind telling me right now? When you feel doubt, ask, is this truth or fear speaking? These simple questions build awareness, and awareness builds peace. In time, you'll notice something incredible. The problems that used to shake you no longer control you. You still feel them, but you don't live in them. You've built distance, the kind that gives clarity. You'll start making decisions with calm instead of panic. You'll stop rushing for answers and start trusting your process. That's the gift of understanding your mind. You don't escape problems, you outgrow them. You don't erase emotions, you learn from them. You don't control everything, you control your response. And in that space between thought and reaction, peace lives. So before you try to change your habits, your work, or your world, stop and study the one thing directing it all, your mind. Learn how it thinks, why it fears, and what it believes. Because once you understand your mind, every problem becomes smaller, every emotion becomes clearer, and every day becomes lighter. The peaceful mind isn't a mystery. It's a skill, and it begins with understanding yourself completely. Chapter 2. Calm your inner noise so solutions can finally appear. Every problem feels 10 times bigger when your mind is loud. You know that restless noise inside, the endless thinking, the replaying of mistakes, the worry about what might go wrong. That's the real storm. It's not the situation itself that breaks you down. It's the way your mind keeps spinning without pause. The moment you quiet that noise, clarity walks in. Calm is not the absence of problems. It's the ability to think clearly in the middle of them. You can't see your reflection in a shaking mirror, and you can't find answers in a shaking mind. When you're stressed, your brain floods with emotion, your focus narrows, and everything feels urgent. That's when you make decisions that don't serve you, reacting instead of responding, escaping instead of understanding. To solve any problem, you first need to calm your inner world. A peaceful mind makes strong decisions. A noisy mind only repeats old mistakes. When your mind is loud, it tells you that you must act immediately. It convinces you that doing something, anything, is better than being still. But that's not true. Most problems don't need a fast answer, they need a calm one. The fastest way to clarity is not movement, it's stillness. You can't outrun confusion, you have to outlast it with patience. The person who stays calm when others panic always sees what others miss. Calming your inner noise begins with awareness. Notice how your mind behaves under stress. When something unexpected happens, where does your attention go? Do you start imagining the worst? Do you relive old failures? Do you criticize yourself instantly? That's the noise that blocks insight. The mind gets trapped in loops of fear and judgment. Understanding that loop is the first step toward quieting it. Sometimes silence feels uncomfortable because it forces you to hear your real thoughts. You start noticing how often you speak harshly to yourself. You realize how much of your energy goes to what you can't control. This awareness can feel heavy at first, but it's freeing. Once you see how much of your suffering comes from your own thoughts, you gain the power to change them. Calm isn't given to you, it's built through gentle attention to what's happening inside. When your thoughts start to race, don't fight them. Fighting noise creates more noise. Instead, pause and observe. Take a slow breath. Ask yourself, what's really happening right now? Your body will follow your breath. Your mind will follow your focus. Breathing is your anchor. Each slow exhale tells your nervous system that you are safe, that it can stop running. Most of your tension comes from forgetting that you're okay in this moment. You don't have to clear your mind completely. You just have to stop feeding every thought. Not every idea deserves your attention. When your mind starts listing every possible outcome, you can simply say, "Not now." You can train your focus like a muscle. Each time you bring it back to the present moment, you strengthen it. Over time, your mind learns that peace is not found in control, it's found in presence. A calm mind doesn't mean an empty mind. It means a focused one. It means you've chosen what to think about instead of being pulled around by every random thought. You can't stop thoughts from appearing, but you can decide which ones to entertain. Imagine you're sitting in a waiting room. Thoughts come and go like people entering and leaving. You don't need to talk to everyone who walks in. Some thoughts don't deserve a seat. Distraction feeds inner noise. Most people wake up and immediately check their phone. They scroll through other people's opinions, successes, and complaints before they've even met their own day. That's how noise begins. The mind becomes a room filled with voices that don't belong there. You can't find peace in a crowd. You have to choose silence. Start your day in quiet. Before you let the world in, listen to yourself first. You can create calm by simplifying what you consume. Too much information creates confusion. Too much comparison creates doubt. Too much talking creates tension. The mind needs space to breathe. Set boundaries with your attention. Not every message deserves an answer. Not every problem is yours to fix. Protect your focus the way you'd protect something valuable, because it is. Another way to calm your inner noise is to give your thoughts somewhere to go. Write them down. Putting thoughts on paper gets them out of your head. You'll see that half of what felt overwhelming loses power when it's visible. The mind exaggerates, paper clarifies. Once your thoughts are in front of you, you can separate facts from feelings. You'll see what needs action and what just needs time. When you're overwhelmed, your mind tells you that you have too much to handle. But most of the time, you don't have too much to do, you have too much to think about. Thinking about a task takes more energy than doing it. Calm begins when you stop carrying mental weight you don't need to. Focus on one thing at a time. If you can do it now, do it. If you can't, schedule it. Then stop thinking about it until it's time. Calm isn't something you find once, it's something you practice daily. It's the small pauses between thoughts. It's the patience between what you want and when it arrives. It's choosing not to react when every part of you wants to fight back. Each time you pause instead of panic, you teach your mind that it doesn't need to overheat to survive. You're reprogramming your nervous system for balance. Many people mistake activity for progress. They keep themselves busy to avoid stillness, but silence is not wasted time. In silence, the mind processes. It organizes your emotions. It connects patterns. The most powerful insights often come when you stop trying to force them. The answer that felt out of reach appears naturally once your inner noise quiets down. That's how clarity works. It visits calm spaces. You can notice calm physically. Your shoulders drop, your breathing deepens, your stomach softens, your heartbeat steadies. You feel safe again. That's when your brain's problem-solving ability returns. You start to see choices instead of walls. You remember options you had forgotten. Calm restores logic. Emotion clouds it. The clearer you think, the easier solutions appear. When you're calm, you start separating what's important from what's urgent. You realize that not every message needs a reply right now. Not every conflict needs your energy. You see that peace is not weakness, it's wisdom. The person who can stay composed in chaos always holds the advantage, not because they're detached, but because they can see things as they are, not as fear paints them. Sometimes calm comes from acceptance. When you stop resisting what is happening, your energy shifts. You can't always control events, but you can stop arguing with reality. Resistance multiplies stress. Acceptance reduces it. It doesn't mean you like the situation. It means you stop fighting what you can't change. Once you accept it, you have space to find the next step. Another way to calm your mind is through movement. Walk outside, feel the air, notice your surroundings. When you reconnect with your senses, your thoughts slow down. Nature has a rhythm that reminds your mind to breathe. You can't feel both panic and gratitude at the same time. When you engage your senses, gratitude naturally returns, and with it comes peace. Calm is also built through rest. A tired mind is a noisy mind. Lack of sleep makes small problems look enormous. Rest gives your brain time to reset. Don't glorify exhaustion. Productivity without peace isn't success, it's burnout. True progress includes recovery. Give your mind quiet time, the way you give your body food. Sometimes you need to forgive yourself to quiet the noise. Regret is one of the loudest sounds in the human mind. It keeps repeating what you should have done, could have done, might have done. But the past is unchangeable. You can only learn from it, not live in it. The moment you accept your past as part of your story, the echo starts to fade. Forgiveness is silence to the mind. To solve problems effectively, you must approach them with emotional stability. When your emotions are high, your perspective narrows. You only see from the angle of fear or frustration. Calm widens that angle. You see more possibilities. You hear more clearly. You speak more thoughtfully. That's why the most peaceful person in a room often ends up being the leader, because clarity attracts trust. People think they'll be calm once their life gets easier. But life doesn't get easier. Your mind gets stronger. The same storm that breaks one person can build another. The difference lies in inner stillness. When you know how to return to calm quickly, you stop being afraid of challenges. You stop doubting yourself every time something goes wrong. You trust that you can think your way through it because you've done it before. You can build rituals for calm. Before big decisions, take 5 deep breaths. Before replying in anger, wait a minute. Before ending your day, sit in quiet for a few moments. These are small acts, but they train your brain to slow down before reacting. The more you practice, the faster your mind finds peace. Calm doesn't mean being passive. It means acting with clarity. You can still be strong, assertive, and ambitious while being calm. In fact, calm is what keeps your strength consistent. Anger burns fast. Calm endures. Calm people are not slow, they're deliberate. They don't rush because they know speed without direction leads nowhere. When you learn to calm your inner noise, you start trusting your intuition again. Under stress, your intuition gets buried under fear. Once you're quiet, it rises. You begin to sense what's right without forcing logic. You make better decisions because they're not born from panic. Inner calm reconnects you with the wisdom that's been there all along. If you want solutions, stop chasing them in the noise. Stop trying to think your way out of confusion. Step back, sit still, breathe, observe. Let your thoughts settle the way dust settles after a storm. When the air clears, what you need to do will become obvious. Most solutions are simple. It's the noise that makes them hard to see. Peace is not a personality trait. It's a discipline. It's a choice you make again and again until it becomes your natural state. Every calm response builds a stronger foundation for the next challenge. You start living differently. You stop reacting to every emotion. You start valuing silence over opinion, patience over haste, understanding over being right. When your mind is calm, problems stop controlling your emotions. You start leading your own thoughts instead of being dragged by them. You listen more, judge less, and think deeper. You stop looking for peace outside because you've built it inside. And when you have that, no matter what life throws at you, you can face it with a clear head, a steady heart, and a peaceful mind. That's when real solutions appear, not from struggle, but from understanding.
Chapter 3. Question your thoughts instead of believing them blindly. Most people never stop to question what their mind tells them. They hear a thought and assume it's the truth. But not every thought deserves your trust. Your mind is like a storyteller. It creates narratives based on your fears, past experiences, and expectations. Some of those stories are helpful, but many are not. They repeat old pain, exaggerate small worries, and make you believe things about yourself that are not real. If you want peace, if you want clarity, you must begin to question what you think instead of believing it blindly. Your mind has been collecting ideas since you were a child. You learned what was possible, what was dangerous, what was acceptable. Every belief you hold came from somewhere. Parents, teachers, society, failures, pain. Over time, those beliefs turned into automatic thoughts. You don't even notice them. They just appear, telling you who you are and how life works. But here's the truth. Just because a thought is loud doesn't mean it's true. Some of the most convincing thoughts are also the most destructive. Think about how often your mind says things like, "I can't do this," or "they don't like me," or "this will never work." Most people hear those thoughts and stop there. They don't question them. They just obey them. They don't realize those are not facts. They're interpretations. The mind interprets the world through emotion. When you're afraid, your thoughts will exaggerate the danger. When you're angry, your thoughts will justify your reaction. When you're sad, your thoughts will tell you that nothing will ever improve. It's not life that changes, it's your perception. The way to free yourself from these illusions is to pause and ask, is this thought true? Then go deeper. How do I know it's true? What proof do I really have? Is there another way to see this? Most of the time, you'll find that your thought is just an assumption dressed up as truth. Once you question it, it begins to lose power. The mind only controls you when you don't challenge it. Every emotion begins with a thought. If you feel hopeless, somewhere beneath it is a thought saying, things will never get better. If you feel insecure, there's a thought whispering, I'm not enough. If you feel anxious, your mind is predicting failure before it even happens. By questioning these thoughts, you start to weaken their influence. You create space between what happens and how you interpret it. That space is where peace lives. Your thoughts are like clouds. They pass through your mind, but they don't define the sky. The problem is, people start identifying with the clouds. They think, this is me. They say, I am anxious, instead of I am having an anxious thought. The difference seems small, but it's everything. When you believe a thought blindly, you become it. When you question it, you remain the observer. You regain control. The most dangerous thoughts are not the ones that are obviously negative. They're the ones that seem logical but are built on fear. For example, I should wait until I'm more prepared sounds reasonable, but sometimes it's fear pretending to be wisdom. I'll start when I feel ready, feel safe, but it's often a disguise for self-doubt. Your mind is clever. It uses comfort to keep you stuck. When you start questioning those thoughts, you expose the patterns that keep you small. It's important to understand that your mind isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you. It learned to create fear to keep you safe. The problem is that it doesn't know the difference between physical danger and emotional discomfort. The same alarm that goes off when you're in real danger also activates when you're about to face rejection, failure, or change. Questioning your thoughts helps you calm that false alarm. You begin to see that most fears are not real threats. They're predictions that rarely come true. One powerful way to challenge your thoughts is to imagine a friend coming to you with the same belief. If your friend said, "I'm going to fail," what would you say to them? You'd probably tell them, "You don't know that yet," or "You've done hard things before." Now ask yourself why your mind deserves less compassion than your friend does. Speak to yourself with fairness. Be skeptical of your own negativity. Sometimes your thoughts are not even your own, they're borrowed. You might be carrying someone else's voice inside your head, a critical parent, a harsh teacher, a judgmental peer. Their words may have become your inner dialogue. Questioning your thoughts helps you separate your true voice from the echoes of the past. You get to decide which ones stay. You can begin this process by observing your thoughts throughout the day. When you catch one that feels heavy, pause and write it down. Don't analyze it yet, just notice it. At the end of the day, look at what you've written. Ask yourself, who told me this? Is it true every time, or just sometimes? Does believing this thought help me grow or hold me back? You'll start seeing patterns. Certain thoughts show up again and again in different forms. Those are the ones that need your attention the most. Your beliefs shape your entire experience. If you believe the world is hostile, you'll interpret every action as a threat. If you believe people can't be trusted, you'll find proof of it everywhere. The mind looks for evidence to confirm what it already believes. That's why it's dangerous to accept every thought as truth. The mind will build a reality around it. Questioning your thoughts breaks that cycle. It gives you the power to create new beliefs that reflect who you want to become, not who you used to be. When you begin to doubt your thoughts, your ego will resist. It doesn't like being questioned. It will say, "You're wasting time," or "This is pointless." That's just another thought. Smile at it. You don't need to fight your thoughts, you just need to stop obeying them. Over time, the ego's voice grows quieter. You realize it's not the enemy, it's just the old version of you trying to stay in control. Questioning your thoughts also teaches you humility. You begin to see how limited your perspective really is. You realize that your interpretation of reality is only one angle among many. That realization softens judgment. You stop assuming you always know what people mean or why things happen. You stop reacting to misunderstanding. You become more open, more understanding, more peaceful. This practice doesn't mean you reject every thought. It means you become selective. You keep the ones that serve your growth and discard the ones that don't. For example, if you think, "I can learn from this," keep it. If you think, "I'll never succeed," question it. Replace it with something true, like "I don't know yet, but I can try." You're not lying to yourself. You're choosing to focus on what's useful. One of the most liberating moments in life is realizing that thoughts are suggestions, not commands. You don't have to believe everything you think. You don't have to act on every idea that appears. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. You get to decide what enters and what leaves. That's freedom. When you face a problem, your first reaction is usually emotional. The mind immediately generates a story, often a fearful one. It says, "This is terrible," or "I can't handle this." In that moment, stop and question it. Ask, is this fact or assumption? If it's assumption, you can set it aside. Then focus on facts. What's really happening? What's within my control? What step can I take right now? The moment you separate emotion from fact, your problem becomes smaller and clearer. Questioning your thoughts doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. It takes courage to challenge your own mind. Most people never do it. They live inside their beliefs, without realizing they built the walls themselves. They call it reality, but it's just perception. When you start questioning, you're breaking those walls down one by one. You make room for truth to enter. You can also train yourself to look for opposing evidence. If your mind says, "I always mess things up," find examples of when you succeeded. If it says, "Nobody cares about me," remember moments when someone showed kindness. This rewires your brain to balance negativity with reality. The mind exaggerates pain because it's wired for survival. You must consciously remind it that not every thought is a threat. Over time, you'll notice a shift. The voice in your head becomes less demanding. You'll stop feeling like a prisoner to your emotions. You'll still have thoughts, but they'll feel lighter, easier to manage. You'll respond to challenges with curiosity instead of fear. You'll begin to trust your judgment because it's no longer clouded by old narratives. Every great change begins with self-awareness. When you understand how your thoughts shape your emotions, you stop being controlled by them. You become a thinker, not just a reactor. You start choosing thoughts that build confidence instead of anxiety, hope instead of doubt. It's not about being positive all the time. It's about being honest enough to challenge what's false. The world around you may never change as fast as you want. But when you question your thoughts, your experience of that world transforms completely. You stop living from fear. You stop believing that every worry deserves attention. You stop assuming that your feelings define reality. You start living with awareness, not assumptions. The mind will always produce thoughts. That's its job. But it's your job to decide which ones guide your life. Every time you pause to question, you reclaim a piece of your peace. You strengthen your ability to think clearly, choose wisely, and live calmly. You begin to see that truth and fear sound different, and peace always follows truth. So the next time your mind tells you that you can't, that you're not enough, or that things will never change, don't argue, don't fight, just ask, is that true? And watch how silence follows that question. Because most of the time, your mind has no real answer, it's just noise. And in that silence, clarity returns. In that space, solutions appear. That's where freedom begins. Not by controlling every thought, but by seeing them for what they are. Passing stories, not permanent truth.
Chapter 4. Face discomfort until it loses power over your peace. Most people spend their entire lives running from discomfort. They avoid the hard conversations, hide from failure, distract themselves when they feel pain, and call it survival. But avoiding discomfort doesn't protect your peace. It destroys it. Every time you escape what makes you uncomfortable, it grows stronger. Every time you face it, it loses its hold on you. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's a teacher trying to show you where your growth lives. If you want real peace, you must stop running and start facing what hurts until it no longer controls you.
Peace is not found in the absence of challenge, it's built in the presence of it. Life will never stop testing you. Every time you think you've reached stability, something new will come along to shake it. That's not punishment, it's training. The goal isn't to escape the fire, it's to learn how to stand in it without burning. The only way to do that is to stop fearing discomfort. Discomfort is the signal that you are stepping into something unfamiliar. It's the sign that your comfort zone is ending and your real potential is beginning. But most people misunderstand that feeling. They believe that being uncomfortable means something is wrong. They interpret tension as danger and back away before they even see what's on the other side. Growth always feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. You can't build strength in the same space that keeps you safe. When you face discomfort, your mind will panic at first. It will tell you to leave, to hide, to return to what's easy. But if you stay long enough, you'll notice something interesting. The fear begins to fade. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once felt threatening becomes ordinary. That's how you take power away from discomfort. Not by avoiding it, but by proving to your mind that it's survivable. Your peace is not fragile, it just hasn't been tested enough. The more you expose yourself to discomfort, the stronger your tolerance becomes. You learn that rejection won't break you. You learn that failure doesn't define you. You learn that uncertainty isn't the end of control, it's the beginning of trust. Every time you face what scares you, your mind learns a new truth. I can handle this, and that belief is the foundation of peace. Discomfort shows up in many forms. It could be the awkward silence after you tell the truth. It could be the moment you choose discipline over laziness. It could be the quiet loneliness of working on yourself while everyone else seeks distraction. These moments don't feel good, but they build a kind of peace that pleasure never can. Pleasure gives temporary relief. Discomfort gives lasting strength. There's a calm that comes only after you stop avoiding pain. When you finally turn toward what you've been running from, you realize it's not as powerful as your imagination made it. Most suffering comes not from pain itself, but from resisting it. When you stop resisting, the pain starts to soften. It becomes information instead of punishment. It tells you what needs healing, what needs change, what needs acceptance. If you've ever gone through heartbreak, failure, or loss, you've already seen this truth in action. The first wave of pain feels unbearable, but over time, as you face it, the edges of that pain begin to dull. What once felt impossible to live through becomes something you can talk about calmly. That transformation didn't happen because time healed you. It happened because you stayed with the discomfort long enough for understanding to grow. Most people confuse comfort with peace. Comfort is temporary. It depends on your surroundings. Peace is permanent. It depends on your mindset. You can sit in a comfortable room and still feel restless inside. You can be in chaos and still feel grounded if you've built peace through discomfort. The more you practice staying present in difficult emotions, the less you'll need life to be perfect to feel okay. Facing discomfort doesn't mean forcing yourself to suffer unnecessarily. It means being honest about the feelings you've been avoiding. It means sitting with sadness without immediately distracting yourself. It means acknowledging fear instead of pretending you're fine. It means admitting that you don't have control over everything and realizing that's okay. Peace isn't about control, it's about surrendering to what's real. Discomfort becomes powerful when you treat it like a wall. Every time you feel it, that's where you stop. If you can push through that wall, even slightly, you expand your life. Think of how many opportunities people miss because they couldn't handle temporary unease. They avoid saying what they really think, so relationships stay shallow. They avoid taking risks, so dreams never grow. They avoid facing mistakes, so the same patterns repeat. Discomfort guards everything worth having. If you want more peace, more confidence, more freedom. You must walk through that gate. When you start facing discomfort consciously, it changes the way you see yourself. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. You begin to trust your ability to endure. You stop saying, "I can't handle this," and start saying, "This is hard, but I'll get through it." That shift in language changes your entire emotional state. It moves you from helplessness to ownership. Ownership brings peace, because it reminds you that you're not powerless. You're growing. People think peace means everything goes smoothly. It doesn't. Peace means that when things fall apart, you don't fall apart with them. You can still think clearly even when you're hurting. You can still act with integrity even when you're angry. You can still move forward even when the outcome is uncertain. That kind of peace doesn't come from comfort. It's built from repeatedly facing discomfort until it stops shaking you. There's a difference between pain that hurts and pain that heals. The first one drains you. The second one transforms you. Growth pain teaches you patience, humility, strength, and compassion. It shows you how to stay calm when life doesn't cooperate. It shows you that fear is not fatal. It's a signal that you're expanding. Each time you endure a moment of discomfort with awareness, you grow a little stronger, a little freer, a little more at peace. Discomfort also exposes truth. It reveals what really matters to you. When you're tested, you find out which values are genuine and which were just words. You discover who stands with you and who disappears. You realize what's essential and what's just noise. Discomfort clears illusions. It strips away what's fake and leaves what's real. That's why peace often comes after struggle. The struggle removes everything unnecessary. When discomfort appears, your natural instinct is to escape, but the moment you escape, it follows you in a new form. The same fears appear in different situations until you face them directly. Life keeps presenting the same lesson until you learn it. The quicker you confront it, the sooner you free yourself. Running from discomfort keeps you stuck in repetition. Walking through it opens new possibilities. You can train yourself to face discomfort with small steps. Start by doing something slightly harder than usual each day. Speak up when you'd normally stay quiet. Sit with silence instead of reaching for your phone. Admit when you don't know something instead of pretending you do. These small acts teach your mind that discomfort is survivable. Over time, you'll stop seeing it as a threat and start seeing it as growth. When you resist discomfort, it feels like an enemy. When you face it, it becomes a teacher. Every uncomfortable emotion carries a message. Anger says your boundaries are crossed. Fear says something valuable is at stake. Sadness says something meaningful has ended. If you listen, these emotions guide you toward healing. If you avoid them, they keep repeating until you pay attention. To truly master peace, you must learn to sit with tension without demanding that it disappear. That's maturity. To feel discomfort and not react destructively. To let life be imperfect without trying to fix everything immediately. The world doesn't owe you comfort. What it offers instead is growth. And growth requires friction. If you expect life to be easy, you'll always be disappointed. If you expect it to be challenging, but manageable, you'll find peace even in chaos. Facing discomfort doesn't make you cold, it makes you resilient. It teaches you empathy, because once you've known your own pain deeply, you understand others more compassionately. People who've avoided pain often judge quickly. People who've faced it judge less. They know that everyone's carrying something unseen. That understanding softens your heart and strengthens your peace. There will be moments when discomfort feels endless. You'll think it's too much, that it will never pass. But every emotion has a lifespan. No feeling lasts forever. If you breathe through it, stay present, and resist the urge to escape. You'll see it fade. The next time it returns, it will feel lighter. Eventually, what once triggered panic will barely move you. That's not numbness. That's mastery. Peace doesn't come from perfect circumstances. It comes from trust. Trust that you can face whatever comes and still remain whole. The moment you stop fearing discomfort, you stop living defensively. You stop waiting for everything to be calm before you relax. You start carrying calm within you. No matter what's happening outside, discomfort is the doorway to emotional freedom. Walk through it often. Feel the sting, the tension, the fear. But stay steady. Let discomfort speak until it runs out of things to say. When you can sit in its presence without losing your balance, you'll know real peace. Not the temporary kind that depends on conditions, but the deep kind that lives inside you. That's the quiet power of facing discomfort. You stop hiding. You stop shrinking. You stop needing life to be easy to feel okay. You learn to stand in the storm without trembling. You understand that peace isn't something life gives you. It's something you build by refusing to run from what hurt. And once you face discomfort long enough, it loses its power. And what's left is strength, clarity, and a calm that nothing can take away.
Chapter 5. Accept uncertainty and learn to stay steady within it. Uncertainty is one of the hardest things for the human mind to accept. We want to know what's coming. We want to be sure that things will work out, that people will stay, that plans will unfold the way we imagined. But life doesn't work that way. No matter how much you prepare or how tightly you hold on, there will always be things you can't control. The truth is, peace begins the moment you stop demanding certainty and start learning how to stay steady inside the unknown. Most of our stress doesn't come from what is happening. It comes from what we think might happen. The mind hates not knowing. It tries to fill every gap with predictions, assumptions, and worst-case scenarios. That's why uncertainty feels so heavy. It's not the unknown that hurts, it's the mental noise we create around it. When you learn to live without needing all the answers, you take back control of your peace. Uncertainty is not chaos, it's reality. Every moment of your life has always been uncertain. You've just learned to ignore it when things feel stable. The future has never been guaranteed. Not for a single person. What makes life beautiful and terrifying at the same time is that you never know exactly how it will unfold. You can plan, but you can't predict. You can hope, but you can't demand. The only real control you have is over your state of mind. That's where steadiness begins. When you try to fight uncertainty, you create anxiety. When you accept it, you find calm. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means understanding that your energy is better spent on adapting than resisting. The more you fight to control the uncontrollable, the more power you give to fear. But the moment you stop trying to force outcomes, you feel lighter. You begin to move through life with clarity instead of tension. People often say, "I just want to know what's going to happen," as if knowing would solve everything. But certainty doesn't guarantee peace. How many times have you known what was coming and still felt uneasy? What you're really searching for isn't certainty, it's safety. And safety doesn't come from knowing the future. It comes from trusting your ability to handle it, whatever it brings. Uncertainty is the soil where growth takes root. Without it, you would never learn courage, patience, or faith. Every step forward in your life has required walking into something you couldn't predict. You started new jobs, moved to new places, entered new relationships, all without guarantees. Growth and uncertainty are inseparable. You can't evolve while clinging to the familiar. The price of transformation is letting go of certainty.
Learning to stay steady in uncertainty begins with awareness. Notice what your mind does when it feels unsure. It starts spinning, doesn't it? It creates stories. It imagines outcomes that haven't happened. It tries to find something solid to hold on to. You can interrupt that process by grounding yourself in the present moment. When your mind jumps into the future, bring it back by asking, what's true right now? Usually what's true is much simpler than what you imagine. You're breathing, you're alive. You have choices. You're safe right now. The mind likes to believe that certainty equals safety, but the opposite is often true. When you demand certainty, you limit yourself. You say no to opportunities, because you can't guarantee the result. You stay in places that make you unhappy because, at least they're predictable. You choose familiarity over fulfillment. Learning to stay steady within uncertainty allows you to take risks that lead to a better life. It's not recklessness, it's courage built on trust in yourself. Uncertainty is uncomfortable because it challenges the illusion of control. We like to believe that if we plan carefully enough, we can avoid pain, loss or failure. But no plan can guarantee that. Control gives the illusion of safety, but it often becomes a trap. You start trying to manage every detail of your life, and when something doesn't go your way, you collapse. The wiser path is flexibility. To stay steady, even when things move in directions you didn't expect. There's a quiet strength in being okay with not knowing. It means you've matured beyond needing life to obey your preferences. You've learned that peace doesn't come from certainty, it comes from stability within. When you build that stability, you can walk into any situation without fear of losing yourself. Life stops feeling like a series of threats and starts feeling like a series of experiences. Each one an opportunity to learn, to grow, to practice calm. Think about how much energy is wasted on trying to control the uncontrollable. People spend nights awake over what someone might say, how something might turn out, or whether things will go as planned. They live in mental scenarios that never happen. The truth is, most of what you worry about doesn't come true, and the things that do you handle better than you expected. You've already survived countless uncertainties, you'll survive the next ones too. The steadiness you're seeking is not something you find, it's something you build. You build it through consistency, patience and self-trust. When you keep promises to yourself, you strengthen your foundation. When you do what you say you'll do, even when it's uncomfortable, you prove to your mind that you can depend on yourself. That dependability creates inner calm. When uncertainty comes, you no longer panic because you've built confidence in your ability to adapt. One of the simplest ways to stay steady is to focus on what's within your reach. The human mind loves to wander into the future, but peace only exists in the present. You can't control tomorrow, but you can control your choices today. You can't know what people will do, but you can control how you respond. When your focus stays on what's actionable, uncertainty loses its bite. You stop feeling powerless because you're grounded in what's real. Many people think acceptance means passivity. It doesn't. Acceptance is power. It's saying, this is what's happening, and I'll work with it instead of against it. When you accept uncertainty, you stop wasting energy resisting what already is. That energy can then be used for problem solving, creativity and action. Acceptance clears the fog, so you can see the path forward. You can practice acceptance through small acts of surrender. When plans change unexpectedly, breathe instead of reacting. When someone disappoints you, pause before assuming the worst. When life throws something unfamiliar at you, remind yourself, I can handle this. Over time, these small acts add up. They build a quiet resilience that doesn't crumble when the ground beneath you shifts. Uncertainty is where your faith is tested, not necessarily religious faith, but faith in life, in timing, in yourself. It's easy to believe in peace when everything is predictable. It's harder when things fall apart. But that's where you find out who you really are. The person who can stay centered in uncertainty doesn't depend on conditions to feel calm. They carry calm with them. That's real freedom. Fear will try to convince you that uncertainty is dangerous. It will say, "What if it doesn't work out?" But you can answer, "What if it does?" It will say, "What if I fail?" You can reply, "Then I'll learn and adjust." You can't silence fear completely, but you can talk back to it with reason. The goal is not to eliminate fear, it's to stop letting it decide your future. When life feels uncertain, anchor yourself in what never changes: your values, your character, your effort. Outcomes may shift, people may come and go, but who you choose to be remains in your control. That's where steadiness comes from. You stop chasing guarantees outside and start building trust inside. It helps to remember that uncertainty also holds possibility. The same unknown that carries fear also carries potential. The job you might lose could lead to something great. The relationship that ended could create space for something healthier. The plan that failed could teach you something essential. The unknown is not only the home of risk, it's also the birthplace of opportunity. When you accept uncertainty, you open yourself to new beginnings that certainty would have closed off. You can develop emotional steadiness through routine. When the world feels unpredictable, having daily practices that ground you makes a difference. Wake up and focus your mind before the day begins. Reflect at night on what went well instead of what went wrong. Eat well, move your body, breathe deeply. These small anchors remind your nervous system that stability exists, even in uncertainty. It's also important to give yourself permission to feel uneasy. Uncertainty naturally creates tension, and that's okay. The goal isn't to eliminate discomfort, but to stay calm while it's present. The more you allow yourself to feel uncertainty without trying to fix it immediately, the more your tolerance grows. That tolerance becomes your strength. You stop being afraid of life's unpredictability because you've practiced existing within it. Some of the most peaceful people you'll ever meet are not those who have perfect lives. They're the ones who've learned to let life unfold. They trust the process, even when it's messy. They don't chase answers. They move forward step by step, adjusting as they go. They understand that every season of uncertainty eventually brings clarity. Nothing stays unclear forever. When you accept uncertainty, you also accept impermanence. You understand that everything in life, pain, joy, success, failure, is temporary. That realization doesn't make life bleak, it makes it precious. You stop taking things for granted because you know they can change. You start appreciating the small moments, the ordinary days, the simple peace of being alive. Uncertainty becomes less of a threat and more of a reminder to live fully now. Staying steady within uncertainty doesn't mean never wavering. You'll have moments of doubt and fear. But steadiness means you return to center each time. You catch yourself when your mind starts racing. You breathe. You remind yourself that you've handled uncertainty before, and you can handle it again. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to stay aware. The mind seeks certainty because it fears loss, but peace is found in letting go. You can't predict every outcome, but you can trust your capacity to adapt. You can't control every storm, but you can learn how to sail through it. When you stop needing guarantees, you begin to live freely. So stop asking for life to give you answers. Before you move, start moving and let the answers reveal themselves along the way. Don't wait for certainty to begin living. It never comes. Learn to breathe through the unknown, to stay balanced when plans shift, to keep your heart open when outcomes aren't clear. The moment you stop fighting uncertainty and start flowing with it, something remarkable happens. You begin to experience peace, not as a result of control, but as a result of trust. You stop needing life to be predictable to feel safe. You stop fearing change because you know you can meet it with calm. You stop searching for guarantees and start creating stability from within. That is what it means to accept uncertainty and stay steady within. It's not about knowing the path ahead. It's about walking it with presence and courage. It's about trusting yourself enough to face the unknown with open eyes and a calm heart. And when you live that way, uncertainty no longer feels like a threat. It becomes the quiet space where peace, growth, and new beginnings are born.
Chapter 6. Recognize your emotions early and guide them with reason. Most people are not destroyed by their emotions. They are destroyed by their inability to recognize them early. Emotions are not the problem. It's the delay in noticing them that creates damage. When you ignore what you feel, emotions build quietly until they explode. When you deny them, they hide and shape your behavior without your awareness. But when you notice them early and guide them with reason, you reclaim control over your mind, your actions, and your peace. Emotions are signals. They are messengers, not dictators. Anger tells you something feels unfair. Fear warns you of possible danger. Sadness shows that something important has been lost. But most people don't treat emotions as information. They treat them as orders. They react instead of reflecting. They speak before thinking, act before calming, judge before understanding. That's when emotions take over and reason disappears. The key to emotional mastery is to observe what you feel without rushing to obey it. Recognizing emotions early requires awareness. You can't control what you don't notice. The earlier you catch the emotion, the easier it is to manage. Think of it like a spark. If you see it early, you can cool it down easily, but if you ignore it, it turns into a fire that burns everything in its path. Most people try to control the fire instead of preventing the spark. Real emotional intelligence starts with awareness, not reaction. You can train yourself to notice emotions by paying attention to your body. Your body often knows what you feel before your mind does. Your chest tightens when you're anxious. Your jaw clenches when you're angry. Your shoulders drop when you're sad. These physical signs are clues. When you learn to listen, your body becomes your emotional compass. The moment you sense something changing, pause. Don't rush to label it or fix it. Just notice it. Awareness is the beginning of control. Once you recognize the emotion, you have two choices. Let it drive you or guide it with reason. Emotions are powerful forces. They can move you toward wisdom or destruction, depending on how you handle them. Reason doesn't mean suppressing what you feel. It means managing how you express it. When emotion and reason work together, you act with clarity and strength. When emotion acts alone, you react with confusion and regret. Most people either overreact or disconnect. Some drown in their emotions, letting them dictate every choice. Others deny their emotions entirely, pretending not to feel. Both paths lead to imbalance. Overreaction causes chaos. Suppression causes disconnection. Emotional maturity lies in the middle, feeling deeply but thinking clearly. You acknowledge what you feel, but you don't hand it the steering wheel. It's important to remember that emotions are temporary visitors. They come and go like waves. No feeling stays forever unless you keep feeding it. Anger lingers when you replay the story. Sadness deepens when you resist it. Anxiety grows when you chase control. When you guide emotions with reason, you stop giving them unnecessary power. You let them rise, deliver their message, and fade naturally. To guide emotions, you need to slow down your reactions. Most people feel first, speak second, regret third. The goal is to insert reflection between feeling and action. That small pause changes everything. It gives your logical mind time to step in. It allows you to ask, is this emotion based on fact or interpretation? Will acting on this help or harm? What's a better way to respond? That's how reason transforms emotion into wisdom.
Let's say someone says something that offends you. Your first reaction might be anger. If you react immediately, you might say or do something you'll regret. But if you pause, notice the emotion, and think, you might realize your anger came not from what they said, but from how it made you feel about yourself. In that pause, you take back power. You respond consciously instead of emotion. That's emotional leadership, being in charge of your inner world. Recognizing emotions early also helps you communicate better. When you understand what you're feeling, you can express it clearly instead of projecting it onto others. You can say, "I feel hurt," instead of shouting, "You always do this." You can say, "I'm anxious," instead of withdrawing in silence. Emotional awareness creates emotional honesty, and honesty builds connection. People can't respond to feelings you never express. Children react to emotions. Adults respond to them. Growth means learning to carry feelings without letting them control your decisions. It means understanding that emotion and logic can coexist. You can be upset and still act kindly. You can be scared and still take the next step. You can be disappointed and still move forward. That balance is what creates a peaceful mind. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. Sometimes people believe that strong emotions make them weak. They think showing sadness means failure, or expressing fear means they're not brave. But strength is not the absence of feeling. It's the ability to face what you feel without losing balance. When you recognize your emotions and guide them with wisdom, you turn vulnerability into strength. You stop being reactive and start being responsive. You stop carrying emotional baggage that doesn't belong to the present moment. Emotional awareness doesn't mean analyzing every thought. It means understanding patterns. Notice which emotions show up most often. Do you get angry when you feel unheard? Do you get anxious when things are uncertain? Do you shut down when criticized? These patterns reveal old wounds that still influence you. Once you see them, you can separate past pain from present reality. That separation gives you freedom. You no longer react today as if it's yesterday. Reason doesn't silence emotion, it refines it. For example, fear can protect you when danger is real, but when fear controls you, it keeps you stuck. Reason asks, is this fear helping me or holding me back? Sadness helps you process loss, but when sadness turns into self-pity, reason says, it's time to let go. Anger can motivate change, but when anger turns to resentment, reason reminds you that peace is more valuable than revenge. Reason is the guide that keeps emotion aligned with truth. You can develop emotional reasoning through reflection. At the end of each day, think about moments when emotion guided your behavior. Were there times you reacted too quickly? Were there moments you stayed calm when you normally wouldn't? Reflection strengthens awareness. It's how you learn from experience instead of repeating it. Emotional mastery is built through observation, not judgment. It's also helpful to create space before responding to emotionally charged situations. Step away for a few minutes if you can. Breathe slowly. Remind yourself that emotion is energy. It needs time to settle. Once your body relaxes, your mind regains clarity. Many regrets could be avoided if people allowed emotions to cool before taking action. Patience is a form of intelligence. It gives you control when everything around you feels intense. Guiding emotions with reason also means choosing where to place your attention. Emotions follow focus. The more you focus on what's wrong, the stronger your frustration grows. The more you focus on gratitude or solutions, the calmer your emotions become. You can't always choose your feelings, but you can choose what feeds them. Attention is fuel. Use it wisely. Sometimes you'll face emotions that feel overwhelming. You might feel sadness that won't lift or anger that burns for days. When that happens, reason helps you step back and observe instead of drown. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What needs attention here? Emotions often repeat until they are understood. Once you address their root, they release their grip. Emotional maturity is not about being happy all the time. It's about being honest and balanced, no matter what you feel. When you recognize emotions early, you stop being surprised by them. When you guide them with reason, you stop being controlled by them. Peace grows naturally, because you no longer live at the mercy of every passing feeling. Emotions are part of being human. They bring color to life. Without them, everything would feel flat and mechanical. But like water, they need direction. Uncontrolled, they flood and destroy. Guided, they nourish and strengthen. The goal isn't to dry the river. It's to build strong banks that guide its flow. That's what reason does for emotion. If you want to build a peaceful mind, practice noticing your emotions in real time. When you start to feel tense, name it. I'm frustrated. When you feel uneasy, say I'm anxious. Naming emotions reduces their intensity, because it activates the rational part of your brain. You move from being the emotion to observing it. That simple step changes everything. Awareness turns emotion from chaos into clarity. It's also important to remember that you can feel multiple emotions at once. You can be grateful and sad. You can be hopeful and afraid. You can be proud and uncertain. The mind likes to label feelings as good or bad, but emotions are just experiences passing through. Don't judge them, understand them. The moment you stop labeling emotions as wrong, you start learning from them. Some of your strongest emotions